This project, again, has come through Public Collaboration Lab with Adam and Camden Council, and it's been a real delight to work on, in one sense, a project which, when we were presented with it, dare I say it, appeared sort of quite mundane. We went for a meeting at Camden Council, and we were told they had this project, and it was on the home library, and home library was about delivering books to people who are homebound. And there's a mix. There are long-term receivers of the service, and there are people who may be coming out of hospital and, for example, have signed up. And we had 7 students working on the project. And it was one of the things that whenever we start a project, you always just say, be silent observers, go and meet the team who are running this service, hang out with them, understand actually with the rhythm of their day, and also when you're actually with the users, at first, to just observe, because there's always this, I suppose, delay in terms of building trust, in terms of a project and what you're going to experience. So, when we started the project, in one sense, this is what we're presented with at Swiss Cottage Library. It's lots of trolleys, it's lots of filling of boxes, it's about moving stuff around. And logistically, it's all paper-based. And it actually seemed incredibly outdated. And the students, of course, their immediate impression is, well, there's this paper and people are filling boxes, and they do this all the time. And then, of course, they started to go out with the team. And what they really started to see was this incredible human dimension in terms of a lot of tacit knowledge that the team, the home library team had about particular users. And I suppose one of the things I've used with all of these slides, some other people have used anthropology, because I think design's really good at sort of giving, helping us see things, but sometimes it doesn't actually articulate some of the sort of the vulnerability of actually what we're seeing. And I love the work of Prj12, and I just think this idea of the production of locality, it is inherently fragile social achievement. And I sort of feel on one level we have this within things like the home library, but then we have it on a much bigger scale with things like the EU. And I think we take an awful lot of this for granted. And these social relationships are in fact very, very vulnerable. So the students went into the homes of the people receiving the books. And again, at first impressions, you think this is about delivering books. But in fact, what was encountered was this remarkable knowledge that the home library team had about every individual in the home. They knew about what time of day to turn up, what time actually their medications were being administered, when they were actually going through bad patches. And actually there was this remarkable richness, but none of this actually was shared. It was held very much within the home library team. And again, this was a lady's house, and the team members were going in, and again, Camden, of course, with all the pressures over resources, this is about dropping off books. And actually, of course, these services were very vulnerable to cuts. But in fact, again, what was going on was beyond dropping off books. It was actually a sort of model of adult social care, which was really beautiful. It was very personal. People were helping with technology on all sorts of everyday issues, on information about, for example, care, about families, about health. But none of this, because it was all invisible, because the service was about dropping off books, was actually being caught. So one of the things our students did was actually to make visible all these other stories and interactions and capture them. So by the time they presented back to Camden in July, we had a mixed audience of people from social care, from the library service, from strategy and change. And they were really surprised that actually what is a service which is placed really quite low down, it's in culture and leisure. When you really look at it, it's actually crossing every silo within the council. And there's this constant talk about breaking down silos. And in fact, they were doing this, but it was being done in a very informal way. So actually, design was able to make this very visible to Camden. And again, something about time. Time is socially constructed, and I've noticed whenever I've worked with communities, whether in Newcastle or actually in Camden, people have a different sense of time, and the library team had a view of actually the users over a time which wasn't chronological, through the reading material, how, for example, the books would go from a normal typeface to larger, to when they started requesting audio books. They were able to sort of map in their minds actually how people were progressing through these perhaps very vulnerable stages in their life. And also, there's always, in terms of magical moments, there are lots of them. I can't actually capture one. And I think magical moments move, and this, again, was a workshop we ran with non-users of the home library, and we ran it with Age UK as, again, part of just getting a sort of a better understanding of what the future of a library service delivered to the home could be. And the students have always great fun, and they really develop a remarkable connection with the people they're working with. And again, using the methods of prototyping that's so familiar to design, going back to people and actually talking them through, and that engagement with material is always really enjoyed. But also magical movements have to move, and these movements actually move within Camden as well. So here we see students taking some of the work that they've synthesized from their interactions and moving these representations and understandings to other people in the council. And this was actually a very detailed persona that began to be used in workshops with different people within Camden Council. And as I say, these are not static things. So this is just, I didn't want to show you actually the finished digital stuff, because in fact that's the least magical bit of it. The magic is actually in the relations and in these understanding the context. And I suppose slightly taking this quote out of context, but I really again like it, because in one sense what we are doing is today, the imagination through design, through the visual, is a staging ground for action, and I really feel that, and it's now not only for escape, and that's how I'd like to finish.